Hey there riders, Journo Kris here today, and I just want to talk about the ergonomics and seat height and rider accessibility of this bike in this video. This is the Z H2, this is the supercharged Kawasaki Roadster and naked bike, as we call it in most places, and it's a really cool machine. My full review is up. I've borrowed this from MotoHub Motorcycles in Castle Hill. This is their demo bike, and I want to give you an idea of really what this bike is like. So let's jump on board. I'm 180 centimeters. I've got a 32-inch inseam. The bike has an 830mm seat height, which is kind of the ideal seat height for me at my height. I've got a Daytona. A lot of the sports bikes are around that same height, and I can get both feet down flat. There's probably a little bit of extra room in there. It could be a little bit taller. However, it's ideal for me as far as reaching the ground. Getting the foot up on the peg, it's got a relatively sporty peg to seat ratio. Obviously it's a naked bike, so it's not super cramped like some of the super sport machines. However, it's very easy to take your weight through the pegs, which is something I look for, because between taking your weight through the pegs and gripping with your knees, it's something that really helps you kind of feel like you're part of the bike. On top of that, one of the other things that I really notice is that the tank is a little bit on the wide side. So if you're a much smaller rider, you might really feel that. As far as the reach to the bars, as I said in my main test, the seating position is quite upright. I guess I'm a little canted forward, but those bars are nicely drawn back. They're at a nice height, and you can turn them to a pretty generous level of lock without any issues whatsoever. The bike itself, the balance of the bike and the weight of the bike, beautifully balanced. It doesn't feel like a heavy machine. They must have kept a lot of that weight really low because it has got that big engine in it. Beautifully balanced. Obviously, being a 236 kilo bike, if you were to tip it over too far, it's going to get unmanageable very quickly. But you really have to be doing something wrong to get into that situation in the first place. And I will say that I think for the size of the bike, it's exceptionally well balanced. And even though it is a big bike and it feels, as I said in the test, it feels solid, it's something that drops away instantly as soon as you're riding. And certainly far more so than the original H2, and much more so than the SX SE, so the touring version, which again, naked bikes are all about that. Good vision through the mirrors, adjustable levers. You've got quite a simple TFT dash. It's a good size. The information you need's there. There's a bit of extra information that's kind of fancy that, doesn't bother me that much. Adjustable suspension, so that if you are a different weight, you should be able to work within that system, but I certainly found the system very well set up for me at about, 75, probably 85 kilos with my 10 kilos of camera gear. The seat is a little bit on the hard side, but I do notice that being a somewhat lighter rider, sometimes that actually equates to a more comfortable seat for people who are a bit heavier. I don't sink into the foam quite enough, and after say 2.5 hours, I was starting to feel it a little bit. By no means terrible, but I just felt it, and perhaps that's just fairly normal unless you've paid for an expensive touring seat, to be honest. So as I said, both feet down flat. The engine is quite wide. It's wider on this side, as you can see here, because that protrudes a fair way out. It's nowhere near as wide as on the other side of the bike. The width of the seat at the front near the tank is quite narrow. It's not learner bike narrow, but it certainly narrows right down, whereas at the back the seat is a bit wider for comfort, which is good. And I think if you're interested in this bike, definitely check one out. Don't feel like size is too much of a limitation, because as I said, it's very well balanced. And obviously, you really having one foot down flat is probably the goal, rather than having to have 2 feet down flat. And you can move across in the seat a little bit and probably do that quite easily. So it might be more inviting than you expected. However, keep in mind, 830mm seat height is on the fairly average side of things for most of the big sports bikes. Now, if you've got any questions at all about the ergonomics, the rider fit of this particular bike, the Z H2, this is the MotoHub demo bike, please let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to answer your questions. And as always, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching.